All right. Woo! What up, what up? What up, y'all? Daniel Augustin here with another episode of Multi-Hyphenated AF. And I want to cover the Florida Gators versus the Georgia Bulldogs 20-30 football game this past Saturday. Man, I got such bittersweet feelings about this game, such bittersweet emotions. The Gators competed, and that's what I've been asking for all year long. I think their record is an indictment of the type of football coach Billy Napier is. He's average. And I think the team competing in general is the most he can ask for from these guys. I think it's the most he can get out of these guys. All right, I don't think he's better than this. He's got a few years now to show for it. And he's blessed to have the roster that he has. But for him to have the results that he has right now, I think says so much. I mean, Texas A&M has a freshman quarterback that has started a majority of the games for them this season, and they are at the top of the SEC. And the Gators football team only just now started catching a groove as far as how they're playing defense. So in my opinion, I feel like these guys are just catching a groove with each other. They're just now, even the coaching staff, I think they're just now starting to catch a groove as far as the defense goes. 20-34 suggests it was a two-score game, and it suggests maybe Georgia was in control of the game. This game was not over until the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, despite the fact that DJ Lagway got injured about 5-7 minutes into the second quarter. If DJ Lagway stays in this game, I see the Gators winning this football game. Georgia has struggled all year long with teams that really you don't expect to give them that much of a challenge. And it started with Kentucky. I've been the head of the campaign this year, 2 campaigns that I've started. Fire Billy Napier. Carson Beck is not, I want to say not an NFL quarterback, but I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to be softer with that. I'm going to say he's not a first-round pick. You know, at the start of the year, all you heard was that he's a first-round pick. While watching this game, Reese Davis or Kirk Herbstreit, one of them, they were talking, they gave a report, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs coaching staff, they've been watching tape and they realized that, you know, they haven't been playing the game that they need to play, and they're going to get to basics. They're going to run the football. They feel like they've been throwing it too much. I've been saying that on this channel quite a bit. And they still threw the ball 40 times. I mean, Carson Beck, 25 of 40, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. 25 of 40. I just think this is ridiculous, you know? And one thing I realized with the Florida Gators, I'm really looking forward to DJ Lagway coming back. He probably needs to sit out the rest of this season because the type of injury that he sustained, high school is not college football. It's more of a demand. Every single tackle, every single cut that you make has to be much more vicious, much more aggressive, much more intentional than anything you're doing in high school. So just the type of injury that he sustained, the fact that he had to step out the game, the fact that he had to be on crutches, he's going to need to do some work on his body to get his body ready to play on the college football level. College football is not what it used to be. Back in the day, you played 12 games. That's not what you're going to do. That's not what this is anymore. Nowadays, you're going to be playing 14, 15 games. He's going to need to do some work this offseason to get his body ready to last, especially if he's going to be running and throwing the ball. All right, he's a big guy. Just going to have to find a way to really build around his legs, build around his body to support the weight that he carries. But like I was saying, 5 minutes or so in the second quarter is when DJ Lagway gets injured. And the Gators kept this thing close. We were 20-20 up until about the fourth quarter. Now, look, interestingly enough, DJ Lagway was the starting quarterback for the Gators, and by the 5-minute mark, when he got injured, he had only threw the ball 6 times. So I'm talking, that means 25 minutes have already run off the clock, and the Gators had only thrown the ball 6 times, yet they were winning. And I noticed there's a big difference between DJ Lagway, Graham Mertz, and I think one of DJ Lagway's greatest strengths, it's awesome that he can get away from pressure, but one of his greatest strengths is he throws an amazing deep ball. He keeps the defense honest by throwing an amazing deep ball. He doesn't throw it a lot, not on this football team, but he throws such an amazing deep ball. He has receivers that can threaten you. Safeties have to commit to the pass because the moment you get caught up in what the running backs are doing, if you're playing against a DJ Lagway, you're getting beat over the top, okay? The fact that his first start against Stanford, I know it's against Stanford, but the fact that his first start, he racks up 400+ yards passing, lets you know he's not playing around. When he gets a chance to throw it, he wants to score. He wants to put points on the board. All right. And I think it's because of that the Gators are actually able to run the ball in this game. You kind of don't know what they're going to do. You know they want to run, but you know if this guy gets a chance to throw, he can beat you deep. And if you're beating this Georgia team deep constantly, you can beat them because this Georgia team is not that smart on offense, and they're not that good on offense, and they're not that disciplined on offense. I would say they're disciplined on offense if they were running the ball 40 times and throwing it 20 times. I think Carson Beck would be better if you threw it every second down, if you threw it on third down. Mix it up a little bit with whatever down you want to throw it on, but Carson Beck is not the kind of guy who needs to be throwing the ball 40 times. This is college football. It's only going to get faster on the NFL level. So automatically, Georgia Bulldogs, the coaching over there, they're failing him. And I don't know if they need to get a quarterback coach in there, a different quarterback coach in there to talk to him about what he's seeing and what he's not seeing, but he's throwing the ball into triple coverage. Not double coverage, not tight single coverage. He's throwing the ball into triple coverage. On some of those plays, it's not even that the pressure was in his face. On one of them in particular, definitely. But on some of them, it's not even that the pressure is in his face. It's that it looks more so like his internal clock is letting him know it's time to get rid of the ball. He's still in the pocket on some of them. He could throw the ball away. I mean, you have a high-powered offensive line. You have some of the best running backs in college football. And instead of him throwing the ball away sometimes, he tries to force it. And I don't think he has the kind of receivers that he can be forcing the ball to. And I don't think he's the kind of quarterback that should be trying to force the ball anywhere. I think Carson Beck needs a clear pocket. I think he needs to see a clear lane. And I think he needs to see somebody wide open for him to be successful. He's not Cam Ward. He's not making all of the winning plays for your team to win the game. He's not making all those plays. He's a part of the system. He's not the guy who makes the system go. So the fact that the Gators, bring it back to the Florida Gators, the fact that they threw the ball only 6 times by the time DJ Lagway stepped out of the game, it lets me know in particular that they have something with DJ Lagway. Now, first of all, I just hope he stays at the University of Florida. I hope they do move forward in letting Billy Napier go. But because of how the Gators competed, because of the fact that they stayed in this game all the way up through the fourth quarter, I think Billy Napier earned himself another year. I don't mean to say that I think he earned it like he genuinely deserves it. I think he's going to earn it in the eyes of the people who gave him the job. I think he'll have so many different excuses, so many different ways to sell himself. I think he's going to be able to say that he's got one of the best recruiting classes in the nation. I think he's going to be able to say that they competed against Georgia. I think they're going to be able to say that they competed against Tennessee. And I think he's going to be able to say that if we were able to stay healthy, we could have won this game and we could have won that game and so on and so forth. I think what's happening to the Florida Gators health-wise is, let's just be real. Let's call it what it is. It's bad luck. It's bad luck. Okay, these aren't really, except for the DJ Lagway one, except for DJ Lagway's injury, these aren't really endurance kinds of injuries. All right, the Gators are sustained like 2 injuries to 2 of their starting DBs on the same drive. It's bad luck. There's nothing else to call it but bad luck. So, quick breakdown of the ball game. Warner came in and ended up throwing the ball 22 times, which is, the Gators, they were trying to keep up at that point. And they were lucky to do so. Only 66 yards. Don't know how much you can really expect from your third string quarterback. He competed. Didn't win the game. He threw an interception at the end, at that 3-minute mark, like I said. But he competed. He gave the Gators a chance. This Gators football team, I'm really proud of their defense, the way they stepped up, the way they've started to play on the defensive end. It took some time. The fact that it took this team so much time to really start to gel like this really suggests that they are, when it comes to the offseason, these guys need to hang out as much as possible. The tough thing about college football right now is with the portal, with the structure of college football in general, you really only get about 4 years. Yes, you have some exceptions. There are some players out here who've been in college football for like 7, 8, 9 years, but you get 4 years. So guys who are your leaders, your juniors and your seniors, or guys who are just ballers as freshmen and sophomores and got their mind right, they're gone. By the time they're a junior or a senior, they're gone. And you got to start over. You got to find a new leader. You got to hope there's a new leader. And you got to hope that they know that they're a leader and that their voice matters, because you need a leader on the field. And then with the portal, you got guys who are coming in, and these guys don't necessarily understand the culture of the school. They just might be there because it's a great opportunity, because it's a big school, it's the SEC, big stage, opportunity to get filmed so that they can go to the league, etc. So because of that, it's hard to really build culture and watch it grow, because it's like you're constantly starting over. You're constantly plucking out what you've planted and starting over and trying to have this lovely garden that flourishes, right? So I think the Gators are in a great place if DJ Lagway returns, because he seems like the kind of quarterback that can play with any of his wide receivers, who can kind of make any of his wide receivers shine. Receivers who you didn't know could shine. He seems like the kind of quarterback who can put a huge spotlight on them. Trey Wilson, I don't know if he's coming back. I doubt it. I haven't seen any reports that suggest this. I don't know how serious his injury is. Missing him in this game, the fact that the Gators were missing him in this game and still were able to compete with the Bulldogs says a lot. But at the same time, I think Trey Wilson knows, and I think Gator Nation knows, he's not being utilized in this offense well at all. If I'm on this Gators coaching staff, if I'm a wide receivers coach, if I'm the offensive coordinator, I would have a playbook for Trey Wilson. There would automatically be at least 5 to 10 plays that are specifically created, drawn up for Trey Wilson. And you don't have to force him the ball on those plays, but they're drawn up for Trey. If it doesn't work, if they're watching him, if they're on him, if they are focused on him, it'll open up somebody else. Somebody else will be open. So there will still be a progression on these other plays, but we start with Trey Wilson in mind. Just because he's a game breaker. He's the kind of guy that if you get the ball in space, he can make plays. Trey Wilson, to me, he's a Percy Harvin. And no, he's not back there in the backfield really going through the line of scrimmage and trying to run the ball through different gaps, but he can get on the outside and make plays. And so that's one way I would want to use him. The Gators have a lot of power backs. Love Ball, though. Love Ball. He's power and speed. Love Ball. Hope he stays. But somebody like Trey Wilson, I would want to get him the ball as often as possible, because he's the kind of guy that can make a huge play on a 2nd and 8 and make it a 3rd and 2 or make it a 1st and 10, because he just picked up 30 yards on this play, because he can just run by people. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he left, though, because, they haven't really been calling plays for him. They haven't been using him to the best of his abilities. When you watch a team like Alabama, they're going to Ryan Williams. They're looking for him. When you watch Ohio State, they're looking for Jeremiah Smith, and they know they got Igbuka. They know they got Tate. They know they got Judkins. They know what they have out there, but they're looking for their guy who can break it open constantly. Okay? And this is the same as it goes for just about any team. Kyron Lacey on LSU. They know who their biggest stars are, and they know what those guys can do. But for some reason, Billy Napier doesn't know how to scheme for one person in particular. Billy Napier seems like a more conservative football coach in general. He's conservative. That's why he likes to force running the football, which is fine if you have a DJ Lagway in there and he can stretch the field and things are clicking and the O-line is giving you 3 to maybe 4 seconds so that your guys can get downfield. And the run is working so that now you can have a quick fake, and now you can have plays where safeties are trying to make plays on the running back because you're killing them on the ground. But Billy Napier is a conservative football coach, and I don't really think being conservative is the way to win college football games. Now, with that said, I'm slightly contradicting myself, because I think you need to be able to push the ball down the field. I think you need to be able to play intermediate football, because some games are about the time of possession more than it is about, say, we're just going to score deep every time we have the ball. Some games, you need to keep their offense off of the field. When you play Alabama, that's how you beat Alabama. Jalen Milroe cannot be on the field. Ryan Williams cannot be on the field, because if they're on the field, you are losing. They are threatening your opportunity to keep the game close. So you got to churn out 5 minutes here, 6 minutes there. Watch the tape when they play against Vanderbilt. That's what happened. So now, Billy Napier's style, I think it's important to be able to be conservative. It's important to be able to be conservative, but you have to be able to use what you have. You have to be able to scheme based on what you have on your roster. And like I said before, the fact that the Gators do not target Trey Wilson, it lets you know that they're not scheming worth a damn. They're just playing conservative. They're just playing it safe. This Gators football team next season, even with the healthy DJ Lagway, you're looking at like an 8-4 team, 2-3 losses in the SEC, because they constantly play it safe. They're not really playing to win these games oftentimes. Oftentimes, they're playing safe. Now, if their defense can continue to play how they've been playing the past couple of weeks, they could probably be a 10-2 type of team, 11-1 kind of team, because their defense is showing up in such a way where the offense can go out there and be a B- kind of team on offense that makes plays when they make plays, and the defense stops the other team constantly, puts pressure on the other team's quarterback, tackle for TFLs, sacks, and now you're looking at a team that is successful and, kind of just catches you off guard, because Billy Napier's first 3 years in Florida have been absolutely terrible. But, just looking at how this game really plays out, the Gators barely lost this game on the scoreboard, if you ask me. Georgia has 2 times as many total yards as them with 455 to the Gators 228. Georgia 2 times as many passing yards, almost 3 times as many passing yards with 309 to the Gators 113. Despite Carson Beck's 3 interceptions, despite DJ Lagway being carted off the field in the second quarter, and then Georgia barely ran the ball on them. 146 yards to the Gators 115. In my opinion, the Gators play more like Georgia should play. Georgia should play more conservative on offense, because their wide receivers can make plays, but they're not game breakers. They're not. Carson Beck is hurting them more than he's helping them. The only thing helping Carson Beck right now is the patience that his coaches give him. That's it. And their defense. So I think they should play a more conservative style of football. I think Georgia should be the kind of team that just dominates the time of possession, runs the ball down your throat, 30 to 40 carries a game, 20 throws a game. Number one team in my mind. If they do that, I think Georgia is the number one team, if they focus more on running the ball. But they're not. They're trying to win Carson Beck the Heisman. Newsflash, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Y'all can stop all that. All right. And now, despite how close this game was, Georgia still won the game just about in every way. Okay. They won the time of possession battle, 34 minutes to the Gators, 26 minutes. They punted the ball less. They had more total plays, more efficient on third down, 2 times as many first downs. Now, this doesn't surprise me now, because once DJ Lagway got out of the game, the Gators offense started to struggle with Warner trying to figure out the pace of college football. Okay, third-string quarterbacks do not go up against first-string defenses when they're in practice. So it's a huge difference from him playing in the Sanford game to now he got 2 quarters of football, 2.5 quarters of football against the Georgia Bulldogs defense. The Georgia Bulldogs defense is for real now. They top 10. So, without the Georgia Bulldogs defense playing the way they did against Texas, they don't win that game. Their D-line made it a point to win them that game. And I wouldn't be surprised if just the way Georgia came out here and tried to win this game against the Gators, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't really prepare for this game the way that it's either one or the other. They either did not prepare to play the Gators the way they prepared to play Texas, or the Gators are getting better. It's one or the other. Because why is the Gators offensive line able to manage the D-line from Georgia to where DJ Lagway could be successful, where Quinn Ewers couldn't? I'm going to say that it was more about the fact that the Gators were able to run the ball. They took their shots with Lagway when they did, and he was able to be successful. I mean, he was only 2 for 6 now. He threw the ball 6 times, but let's be real. He was only 2 for 6. So he had the deep pass to Mizell, and then I don't even remember the other completion, but he was only 2 for 6. So it's not even that he was just throwing dimes all over the place. So him not being in the game, though, took a lot away from the Gators. It took the air out of the Gators, in my opinion, even though they continued to compete. they knew that their guy wasn't in there. Their offense changed. They weren't throwing the ball deep downfield like they were. The team, Georgia did not feel nowhere near as threatened by them as far as the deep ball goes. They didn't feel threatened by them as far as your quarterback possibly being able to scramble for 5 to 10 yards. Everything changed. For me, as far as this goes right now, I think with the Florida Gators, it's really all about stopping the bleeding. This team has been punctured all season. So what I hope for is for a speedy recovery for DJ Lagway, but I hope he does what he needs to do to genuinely be healthy by the time he returns. So next season, I expect to see him return to the lineup, and I hope he's genuinely healthy. Like, put muscle on his big body, all right? And I think for them to also stop the bleeding, I think they need to let go of Billy Napier and start looking at who can come in to change the outlook, the energy of this Florida football team. I know I did a video earlier talking about who I think it could be or should be. I think right now, just looking back, I want somebody like John Gruden to come in there. I would expect he wants to go back to the NFL, especially since, he even won his trial against Roger Goodell. And, I wouldn't be surprised if that's, where his mind is really made up and looking to go. But I would love a guy like John Gruden to come in there and turn that program around. Get those guys to practice the right way. Situational football. How is it that we're just now starting to get situational football down pat in week 10? It's sad. It's sad, and I really do think that ultimately Billy Napier has been getting a free ride. He's the one on scholarship. That's not how they should go. So this Florida football team, in my opinion, still better than their record suggests. The talent is there. They lack the coaching. And there are so many teams across the entire college football landscape that have so much talent but lack the coaching. So many. The Gators are just one example. They are one of the biggest examples, and their record shows it. At this point right now, there's no reason why this team can't be 6-2, 7-1. Okay, Texas A&M is a team that they're blessed to have the record that they have, but I think they have a defense that has been playing with their hair on fire since week 1, and I think they have had more chemistry on offense since week 1. Since week 2, they should have beat Notre Dame. They've had more chemistry on offense since week 2. But this Gators football team didn't really find any kind of stride until, say, week 5? 4, 5? It's just been a struggle all the way through and through. Would just love for somebody to come in there and be able to see the pieces that they have and really put these guys in the right spots. Hopefully before something ends up happening, like Trey Wilson leaving. I would not be surprised at all if he ends up leaving and going to a place like LSU, which is wide receiver factory. Wouldn't be surprised. I know he's from Florida, and I know he always wanted to play for the Gators. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if he leaves. There's a lot of other teams out there that could really use a guy like him and would use a guy like him. There's just no reason for him not to be the absolute target for this team on offense. He should be the number 1 target on offense. Imagine Trey Wilson in Colorado playing with Shadur Sanders. Imagine Trey Wilson at LSU with Nussmeier. He would be making a lot more plays than he's been making for Florida. And so, I don't wish this to happen at all. The Gators are losing recruits. The bleeding is at an aggressive rate right now. And I think the only way to stop the bleeding is to get rid of the football coach that you have in there right now and bring somebody in there who would excite the base, who would excite these recruits. And the sooner you do that, in my opinion, the better. Because the sooner you do that, the sooner the recruits are going to be able to see, oh, damn, the Gators are going to be coached by who? Oh, hell yeah. It really matters. I talked about this, in one of my first videos about the Florida Gators. It really matters who your head coach is. And the Gators have not really made that. The Gators have not really focused on the fact that from top to bottom, the coaching staff matters. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens at the end of the season with this team and seeing if they decide to make any changes. They absolutely should. I think it's do or die as it pertains to this school, this program being able to compete in this day and age. I'm talking about you got 12 teams in the college football playoff and the Gators ain't even close. The Gators aren't even close. If college football had a ranking system like the NCAA basketball tournament and there were 64 teams, the Gators still would not make the cut. If you can't even make the 64, your coaches got to go because it's not recruiting. You can't tell me this Gators football team doesn't have a better roster than BYU. Nobody can tell me that. You cannot tell me this Gators football team does not have a better roster than Army. You can't tell me these things. This Gators football team's roster, it really boils down to coaching. Period and point blank. This Gators football team roster is better than Indiana's. What you want to say? They are. They're better than Indiana's. This Gators football team roster, this team almost beat Tennessee. So, in my opinion, I think they can beat that team with a better coach. This Gators football team's roster is better than Boise State. The roster is not better than Ohio State by no stretch of the means at all. It's better than Notre Dame, better than Penn State, not better than Alabama, not better than Texas, not better than Oregon, better than BYU, better than Georgia. Okay, all right, Georgia's roster is better than Florida's. The roster is better than Florida's. And Miami. I have to say Miami's roster is better simply because Miami beat the Gators so handedly. And Miami has Cam Ward, which is an experienced quarterback. I just listed 6 out of the 12 college football playoff teams who are projected to go on the college football, who are projected to go into the college football playoff bracket on Tuesday. 6 of these 12 teams, I genuinely believe the Gators roster is better than those teams' roster. Whether it's about the conference that you're in, doesn't matter. The conference that you're in is your opportunity to show your skill set and to show your coaching. And I think ultimately the Gators coaching is struggling. Defense has been doing a lot better since, I would say, halfway into this season. They have started to show up in ways that they did not show up against Miami, in ways they did not show up against Texas A&M. So they have started to find their scheme, their groove on defense, no doubt. But based on the fact that as a head coach, you only get so many games to figure out. You only get so many games to fumble. You only get so many games to figure out how to win close ones, how to sustain the big wins. You only get 12 or so games to establish that, okay, this is our resume. Boom, we're in the playoff. And teams know that we win close games. Teams know that we are successful on third down. Teams know that we are successful on fourth downs. Teams know we struggle on third downs. Teams know you only get a certain amount of games to show who you are. Billy Napier has shown who he is now for far too long. And ultimately, even though they competed in this game, he should be let go. I think, like I said, because they competed and because he's going to be able to have, the claims that guys were injured and, we competed against Tennessee, we competed against Georgia, we're right there. He's going to be able to say that, he just needs another year and so on and so forth. But it's going to be a mistake if they hold on to him. And I think just in this day and age, man, it's about competing. And the Gators aren't really competing when it comes to winning games. We're just not competing and making these games closer than experts would expect. But let Billy go, find the right guy, and I guarantee this Gators football team is just looking a lot better, and the future is going to be a lot brighter.